This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Hello and welcome to News Extra. We're your hosts Nabila Osman and Stephen Imediagu. For News Extra today, Chad is preparing for general elections set for the 6th of May. After 30 years under one president and the last 3 years under military rule, the coming election is seen as crucial to the country's transition back to democratic rule. In light of this, local civil society groups have raised concerns about oppressive activities by the military junta led by Muhammad Idris Deby, who is running for the office of president, just like his father, Deby Sr. General Deby's posters were reportedly seen on the streets of the capital in N'Djamena weeks ahead of official campaign day, and opposition candidates have spoken out against the lack of a level playing field. For more on this, we're joined by Remaji Hoinati, who is a senior researcher at the Institute for Security Studies. Hello and welcome to the conversation.
Thank you. Good morning, madam.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Let's speak about some of the more significant concerns for Chad ahead of the election on the 6th of May.
Exactly. Thank you again for the opportunity to discuss that matter. The elections, as you said, are looming on the horizon, and it's supposed to be happening on the 6th of May. But then when looking at the whole transitional process, but also the preparation of those elections, we can identify three main concerns, actually. The first is regarding the quality and the openness of the competition. We have been observing the way all the process of setting the institutions in charge of these elections have been totally controlled by the former ruling party. That is the party led by the actual president, Fada Idris Deby, but then that is actually his party. So there is a so strong hold on those institutions that again it gives the impression that the dices are actually low. And in a way, the game is oriented for the actual president to keep its seat. This is so. The first concern is about the openness, the quality, the transparency, and the credibility of those elections. This is one. And the second, it's about the interest and the popular participation in those elections. As we have been observing through the whole process and then the referendum that happened in late December, there might be a difficulty in terms of mobilizing citizens and having them participate in the poll because in a way, a lot of people actually have been disappointed by the way the whole transitional process have been managed and oriented to, in a way, keeping those that are actually in power in their seats. So these are the two main concerns regarding these elections. But then the third would be in line with those two forces, meaning what might be the legitimacy of an elected president if the participation is low and if the competition is actually totally close and oriented to keeping someone in power. So those are the three main actually issues related to those coming elections.
Mr. Hoinati, from what we understand, the elections were initially scheduled for November. It's now been brought up to May. Now, many consider this a way of appeasing international actors of the Chadian government's commitment to democracy. Do you see it as such?
Yes, as explained, if the nature or the quality of the competition is not respecting the standards, so those elections are more about ticking boxes. There is a need here for the transitional authority after extending one time the period of the transition to get to a point, that they could say that they actually get back to constitutional order by organizing those elections. But if there are doubts actually about the openness and the transparency of those elections, then in a way it's more about ticking boxes and actually ensuring its international partners than really getting back to democracy in Chad.
It seems more and more likely that we will see General Deby transition into civilian rule. There are questions on what a Chad under his civilian leadership will look like in comparison to what his father was like. I believe yesterday marked 3 years since the death of the senior Deby.
Yes, exactly. According to the texts, he's supposed actually, as you say, to transition to a civilian position. This was also one of the requirements by the law to be candidates. But we also should not forget, actually the weight of the military apparatus on politics in Chad. So I'm afraid that in a way, the militaries will remain as strong as they used to be within the political and the administration apparatus. In a way, then we won't be so far from what we observe under Deby's the father.
Mr. Hawinate, are there concerns of possible coups?
In a country like Chad, with this strong weight of the militaries within the political apparatus and administration, but also with this tendency of the people in power holding strong on power without having elections being actually the main alternative for changing elites at the head of the state, instability is something that would actually be linked to the country's fate. So possibility for coup, possibilities for rebellions, start fighting again, things that might happen if the situation remains the same.
Could you perhaps explain to us the importance of stability in Chad for the Central Africa region, but also for us in West Africa, where, especially in Nigeria, where we share a border, and the Lake Chad?
Yes, because of its position, actually, its centrality, being in the middle of North Africa, West Africa, but also East and Central Africa. Chad is actually a country that itself is very fragile because under all the security threats and dynamics that actually surround it. But we also have the fact that any kind of insecurity threat actually getting or igniting in Chad can also very easily end up in all those countries in a way. So I think that having Chad as a stable country is something very important for all his neighbors, mainly actually for Sudan, that is all actually already under a strong conflict that is not ending, but also for Central African Republic, that is a country since 2 decades actually very fragile and facing more than 20 rebellions at the same time, some of them ending up very easily in southern Chad and getting back, etc. And then for in the western part of Africa, we also have Chad as part of actually all the efforts that are made by all the countries actually member of the Lake Chad Basin Commission in fighting insecurity. When I say insecurity, it's not just Boko Haram, but also all the threats that actually surround this region, meaning banditry, intercommunal conflict. So it's very important for Chad remaining stable and continuing its effort with all the countries in that zone in fighting Boko Haram, but also facing all the other threats. So in a way, it's very important for Chad remaining stable, but at the same time, it's also very important for Chad to remain able to monitor its boundaries, so to avoid any threat coming from the other countries ending up in Chad. So I would say it's important for Chad remaining stable, but at the same time, it's a situation that actually makes the country very fragile.
Mr. Hawinate, thank you very much for speaking.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Of Security Studies speaking to us on the elections in Chad and how important it is for that country to retain stability in the region. The conversation continues on Now Breakfast. Do stay with us.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.